Okay, so I'm putting a little bit of the dark color in here. And then to do the blending, I'll go back with the lighter color. Okay, so there's a seam, but if I go over it a few times, it should lighten up so it looks more just like a shadow. But that's looking good. And then the same with this one. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so you could see if I just keep coloring. Oh, and this one I added in, so I was using coral, and then I added in an additional color right here at the top to act as a highlight. Okay, so one more thing to show you. And that is the rose that's in the same set. Love roses. I thought that I would color that. Isn't that pretty? So this one I'm using Cherry Cobbler, the light and the dark, and then I went back with Poppy Parade, and that adds just a little yellow or more of a yellow red to the tip of the flower, which is what Mother Nature does. And then also on this I used the two different tones of Mossy Meadow. So I'll show you how I did that. So again, I started with the dark is already done, and then I already did the light Cherry Cobbler. So now I'm going to go in with the highlight, color right up to the edge. Also, when you're coloring, you might be inclined to just keep on going over this because you could see the obvious difference in colors. I'm trying to make that smooth, but sometimes if the paper gets too saturated, the color starts to bleed out into the white area, and that's not a good thing. So just like that one, I colored it a little bit. I'm going to leave it alone. This one here, I could see that it needs more work. Because it's in the middle of the image, I'm not sure that it matters so much. Then to make the whole thing smooth and the color transition real smooth, I go over the whole thing to give it maybe just a coat of this bright Poppy Parade. Okay, so now that I'm near the edge, I'm going to go over it once, maybe let it dry a little bit, and I'll come back and do it again. Just because I don't want it to bleed past that line, I don't want to oversaturate the paper, even though that's what it takes for the blending to happen. If I give it just a minute to dry, actually that's looking really pretty when you can see all the different tones. If I give it just a little bit of time to dry, I could go right back over and color it again, if needed. Okay, so the whole thing is colored. This one to me is a little bit obvious. I'll go over that again. The others look good. Pretty. Ooh, that's really pretty. So now here I'll do the leaf. And then next I'm going to show you where I thought, ooh, let me put this rose on the envelope. And I used an envelope that is not from Stampin' Up, which is not a good thing. And it turned out not so good. I'll show you that because the ink bled, the blends bled, the memento bled, and you know how I flipped it over before and I showed you how we, to our advantage, we used the layers of paper? It went right through to the back side of the envelope. So you have to decide when you're coloring, when you're using the blends, am I going to see the other side of the paper? Because if so, that could prove to be challenging. You'll need to put an extra layer on it. Okay, so look how pretty this is. So the envelope that I was talking about, I stamped it with the same ink, and I started to color it. And look what happened with the ink. It bled over the line, and then it looks like the black ink bled too. And it was starting to go through. So that probably isn't a good idea. Maybe if I did it on Stampin' Up! White, a scrap of it, and then I just attached it, if I really wanted to get that rose image on the envelope. So another thing you can do is you can outline. And that makes it look like it has a shadow underneath it. So I'm going to use Crumb Cake Light. I could use maybe some Crumb Cake Dark. Maybe I'll do a little bit of that. For the dark shadows, thinking they're right here. You're probably saying, why are you ruining that pretty rose? But wait till you see it in the end. I'm just doing it in the places that have like the deepest creases in the rose. And shadows. Don't go all the way around it. Even though in Mother Nature there's sun, I'm just going to go around all of it. Okay. Now I'm going to use Crumb Cake Light. And you could do this with any of the really light neutral colors or soft colors. For instance, if you did Pool Party Light, that would work just fine. Or there's the new, I think it's Seafoam, which is really light. You know, this marker might need replacing. It doesn't look like it's giving me as much ink as I wish. Maybe because I've used it so much. I think this one I've replaced already 5 times over. And that might be because the next little project I'm going to show you, we used it to color in the background of a floral paper. It was beautiful. And it was beautiful at the expense of going through markers, but I think it was worth it. Okay, see how that's kind of starting to glow, the shadow around it? I think that's really pretty. And I'm trying to use the light crumb cake wherever I see the dark crumb cake line. For instance, right there. If I go over that a little bit, it'll get smoothed out. And then, if you want to do another step, I think that's pretty as it is. But if you want to do another step, you could use the color lifter and go right over this edge to make it really soft, graduating just into the white. That's starting to go. Sometimes it takes just a few seconds for the ink to get set in. Okay, what do you think? Isn't that pretty? Okay, kind of a weird thing on mine. Okay, wait till you see the back. Ooh. Okay, so the last one I'm going to show you about is this. Isn't that pretty? So I started doing the background, and I plan to do the whole background so that the flowers are here just looking nice and bright and light. And I was going to, because it was matching, I thought this would be the front of the card. I was going to do it red, but after I started coloring the crumb cake, I thought, oh, that's really pretty, just white roses. I still have to do the green. But then I thought, well, maybe I'll make it more of a lavender, so it's kind of white and lavender. And still have some way to go, but when you look at this, you could tell the light color, the dark crumb cake. This one I used Highland Heather Light, and then I used the color lifter to soften it. Isn't that pretty? So another thing you could do with the blends is you can color on rhinestones, and you would think, okay, what color? In the catalog there's red ones. Of course we could do it red. But I've done projects, I think it was a Christmas card project, and there were dark color, I think they were green rhinestones, and they were beautiful. Also you could do, let's try navy. If your project called for it, and it dries really quick, but look how pretty that is. But you just have to make sure that you don't ruin the tip of your blend. If you just be a little bit careful with that. Aren't those pretty? Imagine a whole card with just that kind of sparkling around it. It's beautiful. I wonder about black. I'm just trying something that we don't see often. Oh, that's still a bit sparkly. I don't know if I like it as much as the navy. They're pretty too. Actually, they're really pretty. So the black marker, this is a bit interesting. They came out when Spooky Halloween was out in the last holiday catalog. So there's dark basic black. Oh, mine had the wrong name on it. And this is the light basic black. But when you look at this in the box, it looks like it's more of a purple tone. But it is the dark and the light. You can also color on pearls. Let's see, what would be a good pearl color? I'm thinking some kind of pink. Okay, how about coral? Because I have coral right here. And that comes out really soft. Just a nice hue. I probably should use the darker blend. And recently I did a class and we used Shrinky Dinks. So you know that they're just a plastic. And you could color on the back of them to give your image that you're shrinky dinking a different color. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so that's it. Thanks for stopping by.